Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Gather Community Contributor. Okay, I'm going to edit that. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another Gather Community Creator Feature Spotlight video. And I'm so excited to have Taylor Boone here with us today. Taylor and I have been like pseudo connected through social media for years, and finally just last year had a chance to meet in person, and ever since we've been really excited to have a chance to work together and to partner on various things. And so here we are, super stoked, definitely excited to introduce Taylor Boone. Taylor, thank you so much for being here. And I mean, you know how much I appreciate you being a part of our community and, you know, in our creator group. I can't even say enough about how thankful I am to have a chance to be connected to you and to be able to see and experience what you're doing with your work. Tell us a little bit about, well, or tell us the story of how you kind of got to where you are now and why it is that you do what you do.
Well, really quickly, I want to thank you for the invite to be a part of Gather and seeing this beautiful community cultivating and growing and really supporting each other. So it's an honor and a blessing to have you and to have Gather. You know, when I look back at my career, I picked up a camera all in trying to find something that I could relate to as a kid. I was deaf till I was 5. I was diagnosed with being dyslexic when I was 13. And that same year I was diagnosed being dyslexic was a hard year for me, right? I'm 13, I'm hearing this diagnosis. My parents are, you know, college grads, you know, thinking, okay, now we have a kid with a learning disability, which I never heard the word disability. I always heard the word learning challenge.
Yeah.
And I had a great English teacher that gave me a piece of paper, and on this piece of paper had all these people in history. And I just remember seeing Albert Einstein at the very bottom, and she knew I had a fondness for Albert. And when I looked at that long list, she said, "Do you see anybody here that would be considered stupid?" And I was like, "No, they're all brilliant." And she said, "They're all dyslexic. So keep that piece of paper with you. Go find what you're good at and pour your heart into it." So at 13, my dad offered to buy me a camera. He said, "You match it, I'll buy you whatever camera." He had no idea I'd been saving my allowance for a long time. So I actually had like $200 saved up. So I went to him and said, and I actually have it right here, it sits on my desk. So I went to him and said, "I want a Nikon camera that has a detachable lens." He had no idea it was $600. And I got my camera that year. So that year was a pivot for me, figuring out why I was feeling so challenged in life and not understanding things like everybody else, to really finding something I completely understood. I understood how a camera worked. I understood lighting, all of that stuff at such an early age. And it just made sense when I went into college to study at high school. I studied at college. I got a business degree, and then I was going after a law degree, because I was going to either go FBI or somewhere in the law industry was, you know, my big other passion. And God had other plans for me. No matter how I went that other direction, I was always brought right back to photography. And it was really truly a happy accident how my career took off. And I look at when you kind of surrender to the universe guiding you, give you those little nuggets, crazy things happen. And they're beautiful things that you look back and go, I was standing in that spot when that person appeared and asked me that question that opened a door, and that was 25 years ago. So it's been
it gives me chills. That's so amazing. And I mean, so many things that you said just like are ringing in my ears. The idea of, you know, you're going this direction, but there's this draw to the thing that you're just meant to be a part of. And you don't know at the time whether or not it's for a living or for fun or for some specific message or whatever it is. But I seriously have like chills over that whole thing. So,
and I think really quickly, I just want to add here, I think schools and the way we're brought up, we're expected to have one thing for money, and you always hear the word starving artist. And I was like, hey, but Picasso wasn't starving. Like, and you start looking at the history of all these artists that weren't starving. They were making millions of dollars while they were alive. Right. And I think that's where I was really lucky at a young age to meet photographers that were making $250,000, $300,000 a year doing what they're
You had
passionate
those
about.
role models
Yeah.
in the business side of your art. That's huge. You're absolutely right, right? Coming from a performance and like dance kind of background at a young age, you don't expect in any kind of dance theater, unless you're like the super uber elite, and how many people get to be that, right? Well, with the internet, actually a lot more people maybe than before, but this is pre-internet. That's, yeah, that's incredible. And how wonderful for you to have those mentors,
Right. And I think
whether
that's
you
our
knew them
responsibility.
personally or not, they were mentors, right?
Right. And I think as an entrepreneur, we owe that to the generations all around us, either older than us or younger than us, to do that. And I think as women, we owe it to each other to kind of be that role model in our sense of saying, hey, you can do this too. If this is something you really want to show up, you have to show up. You have to move the garbage
Work.
out of the brain. Yep. And show up and do it. And then realize, after you do it, ask yourself, was that like the highest of high? Like, did I feel like I was in my element? Because with COVID, I mean, we all had our doors closed, our workload, shifted off. And after every time I've had a chance to pick up a camera since, I can't have more. I can't have enough of it. Like, where's the next one? Where's the next one? And so that's been my kind of my meter all along of, am I in this for the right reason?
Yeah. Yeah, that's so good. And I feel exactly the same way whenever I get a chance to do an interview with an amazing person or have any kind of real kind of connection with someone new and incredible, or existing, community, and just be able to continue to build on those relationships. And gosh, when we were at Gather last week for your event, I mean, so those of you, whenever you're watching this recording, this video, back last Friday was the Taylor's headshot event at Gather, physically in person in the room, which is the first thing to happen in 6 months, almost to the day. And the juice that I got out of just like preparing the room for you, like just clearing things and sweeping the floor, I was so happy, right? It just reminded me why I created it in the first place. And so that's like the room side of things. But the second piece of that is having you use the room and being able to support you and all of our community with their online events, knowing that we will get to shift back in whatever that looks like in the future. Like that, I've got chills again because it's super exciting. Ah, I love it. I love it.
It is. And I think what you just said, preparing the room, your energy was in the room. Do you mean I felt it when I got there? It was perfect. It was even better than I had visualized in my head. And then as every single person came in, one, feeling reassured they were in a safe environment. I mean, from the minute they walked in, how you had the front area set up saying, hey, here's how we're going to handle things. Here's what you're going to do. Here's your hand sanitizer. Here's the tape and that little arrows pointing which way to go. Took the stress away. You mean, and I watched them just kind of melt into it. And then to be in that space, they all kind of surrendered to it. It was like, this is such a cool space. And I feel like I had less roadblocks to kind of overcome before someone stands in front of me having their photos taken.
Yeah.
Because the intentions were in those walls. So again, I think what you've created at Gather, what you started pre-COVID and right now after, like, we're actively in a pandemic still, it's the vibe is there. The space wants that creativity in there.
Yep. Yep. So yes, and I could talk about Gather for days on end, but we're here to talk about you. So tell me a little bit about, like, give me some sort of like unique experience story or something that, like, your journey in building you as a photographer, but your business and all of the places that you've gone and people that you've met and stuff. Give me some sort of good story to share that affected you. And I'm sure you have a million.
I do. I have 1,001 stories, because I've been lucky enough to be, have been doing this for 25 years. I've traveled. The farthest I've gone is London. I've gone to almost every state in the United States. Haven't been to Alaska though, and I'm okay if I don't go. I'm not good in the cold weather.
No
and
offense to the Alaskans. It's beautiful,
right.
I hear, but yeah.
It's beautiful, but I don't do well in cold temperatures. And I think, looking back, And I have photographed famous people, and I've photographed the woman that has 3 kids at home that has this dream inside of her. And what I love is, even if it's someone that's, you know, well known to the mom, I see that common thread. And I feel like I kind of get to have this oversighted or over peripheral vision, kind of drone footage of that connection of, wow, do you know what you just said? I heard somebody in Nashville that's really famous say something very similar to that. We all tend to have the same insecurities too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I can tell when a client's feeling a little uncomfortable in front of me, and I'll simply ask them, what tape are you playing in your head?
Yeah.
And I'm always surprised, no matter how successful, and I think this is something every woman needs to hear, it doesn't matter how successful they are. They can be, you know, making $1 million a year, be very well known, but somewhere in their life, someone has said something to them that planted a negative seed.
Mm-hmm.
And it will pop through when you least expect it. It usually pops through right before a photo shoot, because that's where we're letting our guard down to be documented and photographed. So I was photographing this woman, and I could see this seed growing. It was like, what was said to you? And it was something that was said when she was 8 years old.
Yeah.
All of a sudden had value in her. And I was so surprised, going, you've owned 3 different companies that have made millions of dollars. You're a best-selling author. You've done all these things, and yet something that was said at 8 is holding value in you. Yeah. You know, and I said, you know, eject the tape, you know, pull the tape apart. Visualize you're pulling the tape apart, like that 80s tape, right? You're pulling it apart and throw it in the trash, and don't ever pick it up again. And when it tries to come back, push it aside. So that's one of the values I've had. And then I really quickly want to share my favorite story. So I was hired by a woman to do a headshot for her. And after she got her headshots back, she's like, hey, that was so not just a headshot session. It was so much more. She's like, I think I want you to photograph my mother-in-law. They've been married for 60 years and never had a professional photo. So we make arrangement for hair and makeup to just take the mother-in-law and dote on her. The husband's there, you know, drinking coffee. They've been, like I said, married for a long time. The kids pop in. We do some quick shots with the parents and the kids. Now, mind you, I'm a branding photographer and a headshot photographer. But when I'm asked by a client that I've worked with to do something, I'll definitely do it. So her mother-in-law is named Rita. And Rita had the best time with hair and makeup. My team fell in love with her. They were hugging me and crying after. They're like, she's the most amazing woman to work with. We have this 90-minute session, get all these great photos, and I have her come back the next day to do a review in person. So she comes into the office, big, massive screen TV. She sits down in front of it. Now, mind you, she's 89 years old, right? So she scoots her seat up. She's super close to the screen. I'm like, is it hard for you to see? She's like, oh, I don't want to miss anything. I'm like, okay. So we start going through those photos, and there was a series of photos I did with Rita that I call them my little angel winks. Like we were going one route, and I felt someone whisper in my ear, throw vintage hats in the dressing room and see what happens. So while she was getting fussed on, I threw a bunch of vintage hats from the 40s and 50s in her fitting room. And she came out wearing one of them. And she grabbed me. I had Glenn Miller playing, because I asked what her favorite music was before, because that's another thing I think is important at a shoot, to have music you love. Mm-hmm. She was dancing with me, and then she started playing peekaboo with this hat, right? She's pulling it over her eyes and peekabooing at me, and I'm just totally in love with the energy. So that series of photos come up, and she's like, stop right here. And there's one photo where she just has this beautiful smile. And I look over, and her husband's crying. And her son's in the room, and he's crying. And of course, I can feel the pressure on my heart. I start crying, and I get on my knees, and I kneel down next to her, and I'm like, Rita, what do you see? And she takes her hands around my face, cradles it, and says, darling, I see a 13-year-old girl on roller skates that's invincible. And right then I was like, I think every woman in the world needs to feel this way. They need to feel this way when they come in for a headshot. They need to feel this way when they're rebranding their business. Every single woman deserves to feel that way. And that moment in my career will always stand up, will stand out and scream, because I think that's something we all deserve to have, when we don't allow ourselves or give ourselves the freedom. And what I love is Rita didn't see the age spots. She didn't see the wrinkles. She saw who she really is. Mm-hmm. You know, and I think that's, as a photographer, that's our obligation. That's my obligation every time I pick up a camera, is that's my job. I have to deliver for you. All I need you to do is come with the intentions you want, and let's create magic together. And I've been very blessed to have that collision happen over and over. Like I said, I have 1,000 Rita stories that I could say, but I think Rita stands out again as something we all deserve to have and see for ourselves.
Dang it, girl.
I'm sorry. I know everyone cries when I tell that story.
That was amazing. Wow. That's incredible. I'm so happy for you to have had that. And thank you so much for sharing it, because it's, we need to feel that at 50. We need to feel that at 80, what did you say, 89, 90 years old, right? To feel when you're 90 years old, like you did when you were 13. Holy crap. I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah, it is.
Oh my gosh. I don't
It
even
is.
know
And
what to say
I
now.
think we have to allow ourselves to feel that. And again, I think women, when I go to do a photo shoot, if I get hired by a corporation to go in and do headshots, the women are always like getting out of the line and going to the back. Like, I want to be the last. I don't really want to do this. And I'll tend to, like, I've got to take a water break or a potty break, and I'll run through the line and go, stop it, stop it, stop it. Stay in line. You own this spot. Stay here. And then after they're done, they'll come up and hug me afterwards and like, oh my gosh, that was the best thing I could have done for myself. And I think, again, we let that tape, whatever it is, get inside, and we just have to step out of away from it. Oprah's kind of made the path for us, right? We all know who Oprah is. You can't say her name in any country without someone knowing. And the reason we know who Oprah is, she's there. She's present, regardless if it's a TV show, if it's a magazine, if it's a book, if it's a book club. Oprah's present in those images. She's present in that story. And I think as business owners, we're so quick to, as a female business owner, to step back and go, no one needs to see me. No one needs to know I'm here. No one cares who the business owner is. And I'm like, nope, they do. They do. And as women, I'll do transactions and support a woman in business if I know her story, if I know she's present in her work. And I think Oprah wrote the greatest book, Just Be Seen. Be seen in your work.
Yep. And I mean, I think that's a recurring theme with a lot of the memoirs that we might read from women who are admirable out there in the world. Michelle Obama's book is the same to me, which was also incredible. And there are many others. It's all about, being able to be yourself and to stand up in that truth. That is a huge part of the work that I do. It's a huge part of Create and Gather, because if we're going to have community, right, we need to be authentic. We need to have people around us. And it's all about cultivating that. And that's how the world changes, when one person's ready to stand up and be themselves so that everyone else can then be themselves. And we all can stop telling ourselves stupid, untrue stories, or stop pretending that we're something that we're not in order to feel better. But then someone else gets intimidated, and it's just all that fakeness is not helping anyone. And so the authentic truth of those photos that you took of Rita, the way that you allow the people in the headshot line to just you're here, be you, here we are. There's no pressure. Right. You just want to show, we all want to show up as our best selves, but also without having to pretend that we're something that we're not.
Right. So, and I think it's in those flaws we forget that's the true beauty. Absolutely. That we all have. Like, instead of looking at them as flaws, it's like, hey, this imperfection is what makes me perfect. And if I just have some confidence in myself, it's no longer going to be seen outside of me as an imperfection. And I think I see that a lot happen in photo shoots working with women. And about 90% of the work I do is female business owners that either own a corporation or they're a CEO of a company. And I love seeing that kind of, again, that peripheral vision of that common thread.
Yeah. Awesome. So exciting. Okay. So I have to say that we had some video glitches throughout. Like your voice never wavered, but your video was a little paused on my end. So I assume that's what's going to be showing up here on the recording. And it just kept running through my head, like, wouldn't it be better if we just were able to be in person, like together, not
Right?
dealing with the Zoom stuff? And
I think I know a place that we could actually
right?
be socially distanced, do a similar setup. And I actually think of how many other places or other companies could use that same space for the
Yeah.
same thing, right? When you have those little glitches, they're hangups. So I think we
Yeah.
know a place.
You know, yeah, you know, because for those of us who are out there teaching workshops and stuff, like there's always technical things, and everyone is understanding and gives grace for things that are not in our control. But at the same time, when we want to show up as our best selves and really keep the attention and be able to really impact the people that we're talking to, you know, the last thing we need is, you know, stalled video picture. So yeah, I think I know a place too. We'll have to make that happen.
Right, we will, definitely.
Awesome. So I'm so grateful that you're here today, even though you made me cry. I'm really glad. That was an amazing story. And you know, I know, like you said, you have 1,001 stories of people that you photographed, but you've got a rich story of your own of how you became to where you are and all of the things too. And so I really want to encourage, if you guys are watching this video and you don't know Taylor, definitely check out her work, her website, socials will be, you know, linked below and all that stuff. She also, as a creator in our community, has her own landing page with her bio and a little more information about her as a person and as a photographer. So you can really, you know, grab that information and 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 you know, do yourself a favor and get to meet this beautiful woman, because this is an incredible, it was an incredible gift for me today. I'm so grateful to you.
Well, I'm grateful we connected. I'm grateful you came up to me at that event at Gather and said,
Right?
hey, I've been following you on Facebook
I've
or
been
Instagram. And
stalking you for a couple of years now. I
hey,
thought I'd say hi.
you know, and I am truly an introvert, and I'm like, I always want to go to the corner of the room and be like, no one see me. I just want to pop in and do my photography and
Yep.
escape.
Well, and the lights were down and people were on stage and you were kind of over in the corner with your camera on the tripod. And I was just kind of lurking in the entry because I'm just the venue, right? It's not my event. But then when you were there, I was just like, yeah, we need to actually say hello in person once and for all.
I'm so grateful for that. Because again, I shared with you, I drove by the next day because I was like, where was I last night? I know I was in this area.
Yeah.
Because again, I felt the magic that night in that room, and I was only supposed to be there for 15, 20 minutes to photograph something really quick, one of the speakers, and it lingered. That
Yeah.
space, you know, occupied it obviously in my thoughts, and I went back to it and fell in love with Gather. So
Yeah.
you've
Awesome.
created something beautiful, and it
Well,
is.
and we are lingering. We're not going anywhere. We're still there. So, you know, even though things don't look the way they looked, and they probably won't for a while, we still exist and we're still moving forward, and we're just expanding in to be able to take up, you know, the space that we're supposed to take up during this time, whatever that looks like.
Yeah, it's a
So,
great space for anyone doing a Zoom call, a Zoom workshop. Don't be at your kitchen table. Be at
yeah,
Gather.
yeah. Don't have a background like this. Like, I need to go
Yeah.
down there.
For this, I think my cat. I feel like my cat any minute's gonna jump out and attack me.
Yeah, my daughter came through and grabbed some toilet paper earlier. So, yeah, that was great. All right, my friend, thank you again, and I will talk to you very soon.
Yes, thank you.